right, next up we have our next speaker here, Sasha LaPointe. She's a Coast Salish writer from the Pacific Northwest. Please welcome Sasha.
Thank you, Jay, for inviting me to come down and speak. I feel a huge gratitude for being invited to not only perform with this amazing band, but to also share words. My name is Sasha LaPointe, and I am from the Pacific Northwest, from the Upper Skagit and Nooksack Indian tribe, and I'm going to share some poems with you. Teach me to say, I love you. In your language, I have forgotten how to speak. Like something caught in my throat, a fishbone broken, splintering me into something quiet, muted and star-like, lost in a sky. The word for sky was Shakolgwets. Teach me to say, just stay put. Stay here, because I have forgotten how to be inside my own body. Whatever my body has become beneath your tongue, conquered and ugly, malformed and mispronounced. Teach me a word better than survivor, like watching my grandmother pour black coffee in the kitchen and the stacks of legal pads filled up with her words, and I tried hard to listen. The word for language was Gwedgwate. Teach me to say I love you, because every time I walk into a restaurant to meet a date, I hesitate. I remember the trees along Portland Avenue, wrapped in their red bows like gift packages on Christmas morning. This is to honor assault survivors. And I remember how my mother tied each one, hugging their bark in ribbon. And I think of this as my date pulls the chair out, takes my jacket and pours the wine red into the glass and asks if I am hungry. Red is what I remember when I think of how they will have to take me home and learn how to unwrap me. Teach me to say I love you, because what good is a ribbon if it cannot hold us together where we have been broken? Teach me to speak in a language older than words, specifically the words of white men whose tongues touch everything. Quiet yourself and listen. Oh, Shabitsichet. Oh, Shabitsichet. Like a sigh I would make as a child, comfortable and safe. Then the thud of my heart as it beats in my chest, its thrum as it drums inside my ribcage. The canoe my grandmother gave me. When my grandmother hit the record button on the cassette player, it startled my great aunt. What is it? What does it do? It's going to capture the language, my grandmother said, to keep it. My great aunt thought about this for a long while. When she was a child, my great aunt traveled by river, by inland waters to relatives, to bring them fish, to carry the news. She looked down at this cassette recorder and nodded. Ah, she said, this is just a different kind of canoe. The last time we would eat together, we sat by a picture window overlooking the channel. She pushed fried oysters around her plate, Chardonnay pooling on white linen. At 6, I licked frosting bone white from China. My mother, embarrassed, reached for the plate. My grandmother slapped her hand away. Just let her enjoy it. And we rotated high above the city, the Space Needle spinning clouds into sugar. Now she looks over oysters, out past the docks. Remember when all of this was underwater? She points a greasy fork to the hill beyond the bridge. They kept the dead up there, she said, before they came and built a church. I see canoes high above a white chapel in branches of trees no longer there. Speeding along asphalt along O'Connor Whitney Road, the backseat sticky with whiskey, the smell of cow shit, of cut grass. I look out at the snaking body of water contained, curling and flexing to keep up. It was all underwater, she'd say, until they came and built dikes and farmhouses, planted fields just for tulips, stretching lakes of daffodils. With my head against glass bottle of whiskey in my lap, I squint until the channel breaks free, until the roads are water again. When I woke to find him there, breathing heavy, blonde, 210 pounds of quarterback of animated Coors Light above me, I learned to sever head from heart, dunked my head beneath water that was no longer there, to drown again and again, to breathe in river silt and mud, count silver scales of fish and all the white pebbles rushing past. We learned to say, I just let it happen. We learned to use words in forgotten languages. I learned to hold my breath beneath the currents, unaware of the boat on the riverbank waiting there. What he should have had. It's not fair, says my brother over his pint glass. I belong on a yacht. We had that, you know. We had a yacht. We never had a yacht. You mean one of Mom's boyfriends did? I poke at the red filmed ice of my spent Bloody Mary. I order another as my brother continues his story of what we should have had. All that shit, he says, those rich guys, those condos in the city, but she moved us to Swinomish. At this, there is a long sigh, and I roll another beer in his fist, and he drinks it angrily. And I am noticing how handsome my brother is. His pitch-colored hair, his jaw, his big smile, how he looks like Superman, like Freddie Prinze Jr. in some romantic comedy made for teenagers in the 90s. Driving back up the coast to our ancestral home, I sleep in the woods, send him pictures of whales and a roadside motel we stayed in as kids. But he is busy with his list of all the things we should have had. He is writing them down and marking them off. When we say goodbye, I watch my older brother try not to cry. I tell him to be less angry, but it's too late. My brother has already pulled out his boning knife. Look what happened to you. He repeats it. He carves a fish-shaped hole right into me. Look what happened to you. Thank you. I just have a couple more. Newlywed. I wanted to make you a blueberry pie this afternoon, all sugar and rolling pins, all fingerprints and flour. I've heard that's what wives do. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, began to worry, what would you do with me? Come 5 o'clock, and you open the door, throw down your keys, and find me in a forest of cardboard and wrapping, a mess of discarded wedding gifts, because I don't actually know what the fuck to do with a Le Creuset. And maybe I haven't even made it to the kitchen or the pie crust. Maybe I've smashed all the berries between my fingers, one by one. And you'll find me in the wilderness of our living room, crawling on my hands and knees, juicy blue war paint across my cheeks, and you'll clean me up like you do. Draw a bath, check for sharp objects, broken glass, and you'll leave the door cracked as you play guitar in the next room. But what if it isn't enough this time? What if when I climb from the deep well of that tub, crawl into bed still warm and slippery, and you touch me, and I know you want me to be better? Will you drive me to the edge of the city at sundown? Will you touch my neck the whole way? Will you tell me it's better this way as you leave me at the line of trees, shadow branches reaching out to me like hands? I'll read some more and then I'll stop bumming everybody out. Your nights. If we are going to be together, we are going to need a system of rules, a treaty, an understanding. You won't colonize my body, but you'll come when you're invited. Bring gifts to the borders of me. We'll learn to say thank you in each other's languages. We'll learn the important phrases, don't stop, and I love you. We're going to need to reach some kind of agreement. Your nights versus my nights. My nights are all leather and fatherless dark, all chasing pain and holding it there. Your nights are for words and holding things that are fragile. My nights are a cat of nine tails against skin on all the things that come bubbling and beating to the surface. Your nights are, remember when we were young. My nights are Japanese rope bondage. Your nights are watercolors and cherry blossoms. I asked you to cover my mouth with your hand. I was feeling adventurous, and after all, it was my night. Darling, you refused. You said you couldn't stand to see me silenced. I watched the sun come down a flight of stairs towards me, rubbing his hands together, shaking his hair to one side. In the shadow of a tower, I am watching the light move across painted tile, guilty, admiring Spanish architecture, and old mission buildings, sprawling, pointed rooftops, ornate and arched, across land where a tribe used to be. Are the things that conquer us always so striking? And by now the sun has reached me. Golden strands of light fall across my cheeks as he kisses me into blush and blister, splits my lip open with his finger and spits into my mouth because he knows I am thirsty. Because he wants to leave part of himself inside of me, and I am begging him to colonize me. An inside joke, but I always feel bad after laughing. The sun is playing with my hair and talking about playing a show later. I am looking at the roses, a moon-shaped garden at dusk, and I pluck one that most resembles him. Amber-colored and bright, so I mind to keep the light a moment